पेपर प्रेजेन्टेसनको लागि म यहाँ निम्त्याउन चाहन्छु प्रोफेसर बी पल्पासा क्याफे नोभेल बाई नारायण वाग्ले ज्यूको यो यसको बारेमा उहाँले प्रेजेन्टेसन दिनुहुनेछ लिएर म बोलाउन चाहन्दैछु थ्याङ्क यू सो मच
It's such a great honor to be here and address such a wonderful audience, esteemed guests, excellencies, professors, colleagues, honored guests. I'm very happy today to talk to you about an internationally acclaimed novel in Nepali literature. And as you know, as an Indologist, religionist, Sanskritist, I am especially interested in religion. So I thought I had a look at Narayan Wagle's Palpasa Caffe from a perspective of a Buddhologist who's been working with the Nevari Buddhist community for the last 10 years, but also obviously from my background in literary studies. So in this talk I want to discuss some pertinent themes in contemporary yet pre-earthquake Nepali literature, socio-political change, civic unrest and revolution, at the example of Narayan Wagle's internationally noted novel Palpasa Caffe, published by Nepalaya in 2005 in Nepali and then 3 years later in English translations. In addition to critical acclaim and a lively reception in Nepal, Wagle's novel has attracted some attention in international scholarship. In Palpasa Caffe, the journalist and former Kantipur Daily editor Wagle grapples with recent Nepali history, in particular with the Maoist insurgency and the 2001 Royal Massacre. The success of Palpasa Caffe as a novel is at least partially thanks to the author's standing as a successful Khas Brahmin journalist and its marketing. And the author's cameo in the frame narrative can be viewed as an attempt to take advantage of Wagle's journalistic reputation for his debut novel. While the novel includes masterful and vivid descriptions of civil war horrors in rural Nepal, the main characters in Palpasa Caffe remain, from a point of literary criticism seen, strangely one-dimensional. They function almost merely as vehicles for the triangulation of archetypical themes: art, embodied in the protagonist Drishya, politics, embodied in Siddhartha, and love, Palpasa. The novel seldomly passes beyond being a rather flat sketch of a Bildungsroman and, in Campbell's terms, a hero's journey, the hero's journey of the protagonist Drishya. His telling name, Drishya, view, points to the evolving and clash of sociocultural standpoints. At the one hand, the aesthetic narcissism of art, and at the other hand, the political violent action for social reform. The artist Drishya exemplifies middle-class male entitlement. He is characterized by puerile and sexist banter, an objectifying male gaze, and an apolitical full philosophical self-absorption. His object of affection, the US-educated Palpasa, comes seldomly alive beyond representing desire and the fickleness and trials of love. The infatuation between both results in the utopian projection which gives the novel its title. Palpasa Caffe is the dream aspiration of artistic knowledge, middle-class jouissance or joie de vivre, and inner peace. A library combined with a coffee shop with a serene view. Drishya's and Palpasa's socially mal-attuned naivety and their bright-eyed love story are countervailed by the violent realities of civil war crushing their entitled worlds. Drishya's puerile selfishness is confronted during a formative month-long journey during which he witnesses the realities of death and destructions in a rural Nepal torn by the Maoist insurgency. The archetypal mentor on his attempted hero journey from the immaturity of l'art pour l'art to the maturity of social responsibility is Drishya's old school friend, now a Maoist commander with the telling name Siddhartha. At the end of Drishya's hero journey into the world of harsh realities of social adulthood, his helplessness has not only caused the death of his guide due to a Maoist bomb, he also loses his love, Palpasa, and with her his child artist innocence. The insurgency finally manages to affect the middle class bubble. Shocked into political awareness and into a reality cut apart from the illusion of love and of spiritual serenity, the protagonist has become inextricably entangled in the conflict that tears at the fabric of Nepalese society. Back in Kathmandu, the thus newly and harshly socially awakened Drishya falls victim to the very realities he never wanted to embrace. All that remains are the ruins of a lost utopia, Palpasa Caffe. Palpasa Caffe is mainly a reflection on real-life war versus art and love, as both a quixotic and selfish middle-class pursuit during the recent political shifts in Nepal. The main subsidiary character, an idealistic youth turned Maoist commander, is given the name of Siddhartha, goal achiever, the given name of the very prince from the ancient Shakya nobility born within the borders of today's Nepal, who would go on to become the Buddha, the awakened one. Siddhartha in Palpasa Caffe, just as Siddhartha in Hermann Hesse's eponymous novel, is not simply an allegorical transformation of the Buddha to be, the one who will awaken to the cessation of suffering and inner peace beyond disturbing emotions. Rather, Siddhartha in Palpasa Caffe represents an awakening, where the gods and the serene simply reflect the worshipper's state of mind. Devi herself becomes the real symbol of the secret peace. She is like living goddess, and her house a, quote, piece of heaven fallen to earth. She can't read, but, quote, she lights the lamp of knowledge. But the old Nepal and its religion is crumbling. On his expedition to the hillsides, torn apart by the civil war, Drishya realizes that the peace of the theocratic order is in ruin. In an overly plain cameo, the Hindu god Krishna, in the form of a flute-playing villager, gets shot in the crossfire and is left crippled, yet he still plays on. The old religion hence merely gets by, bereft of its enchanting reach.
Thank you.
Another villager dies on the very pilgrimage to the Indrajatra, which should secure his rebirth in heaven. Again, the old religion of hope results in death. Maoist Marxism, the new religion, is preached as if, quote, stringing prayer flags across the white river, end of quote. And an old idol sits mute and stares without providing guidance or meaning in the absence of worshippers. The Maoists free a temple thief who then goes on to rob the same temple again of its old Shiva statue. This all signifies, by a simplistic teleology leading to a permanent peace, the Hegelian Marxist-Maoist historical dialectical utopia. Walking through the dystopia of civil war, the neophyte of social awakening, Drishya, follows another mystical, a young rebel girl, to rejoin the savior figure Siddhartha, quote, in dutiful silence, as if I were in a meditation center where all conversations was banned. End of quote. Drishya's breach of the arcane silence, taboo, brings out the demise of his friend, guide, and hierophant. Siddhartha's death becomes in Drishya's mind a sacrifice, the self-sacrifice of a revolutionary Siddhartha or Buddha-to-be, Bodhisattva. Drishya's way back from the other world of insurgency and death is facilitated by another helper archetype, the boatman, crossing the river. He'd left Siddhartha at peace behind at the other side, as he says, returning from his, quote, journey, a month-long dream, end of quote. Synchronically, Palpasa, the love interest, had attempted to see life as it is. She tried making a documentary in the war-torn countryside, to little avail and success. And when the lovers reunite on the road, and love and art appears to have come out of war unscathed, the final hero's transformation ensues. Palpasa dies in an explosion. Allegorically, love and hope die after having attempted to see the violent world as it is. Awakening to reality means the death of any aesthetic and erotic self-absorption. Religious meaning-making is contrasted by the ruin of wars, as the Tulai Gadeshi floral decorations of river confluences are contrasted by the ruins of a blasted bridge. Soon after Drishya's disenchanting journey, the violent reality overthrows the artist's remaining world, and unwillingly he, the newly initiated, becomes himself the sacrifice. The poles of Drishya's Bildung, formation, his maturing development, and as such the start and endpoint of his hero journey, are marked by Drishya's spiritual encounter with Buddhism in the form of a Buddha statue in chapter 7 and again in chapter 25. The Buddha stands in Palpasa's garden. Garden itself, as you know, being a biblical love trope. And it connects Drishya to the serene state of peacefulness, making him want to chant Om Mani Padme Hum, the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, the embodiment of enlightened compassion. The early fairy magic gives way to Buddhist enchantment. Quote, Buddha's eyes were beautiful enough for casting spells. Drishya interprets this hierophany again within the framework of divine art. Quote, I wondered what the real Buddha had looked like. Nevertheless, Drishya is touched deeply by the Buddha's transformative gaze, noting that the statue, quote, looked into my eyes with great compassion. And Palpasa's living room has become for him a Shangri-La, as he states. This first encounter is contrasted with the return of the disillusioned and socially awakened protagonist in chapter 25. For Drishya, the Buddha's inner peace has become meaningless through his experience of civil war. Quote, Buddha's eyes were saying something to me, but I had nothing to say in return. I turned away. The Buddha's eyes struck me as ironic. I didn't want to chant Om Mani Padme Hum. This mantra had brought no peace. We are the Buddha. Were the Buddha to be born today, even he would raise a gun. That's what someone in the hills had told me. End of quote. And later, Drishya avoids the Buddha's eyes when opening Palpasa's last love letter. Quote, those eyes could ask me questions I didn't want to answer. I didn't want to look into those peaceful eyes, but avoiding them felt more difficult than dodging a bullet. If this Buddha was made today, he'd carry a gun in his hands. If I ever created a Buddha image, maybe that's the way I would make it. Finally, Drishya revisits a restaurant, the scene of a momentous lover's tiff. when Palpasa had called out Drishya for his immature chauvinism and sexism. Now, after his journey and Palpasa's death, it is here that the waiter repeats the Grecian question originally posed by Devi in chapter 5 to the new Drishya, quote, "Sir, are you religious?" "No," I said. "Religion promises good things in the next life. It doesn't teach you to fight for what you want in this one." "I understand." "Well, then you are the Buddha," I said. "So close your eyes and shut up." Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful presentation.